Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room.
I'm like, you sure got to do something to do so?
Ata pula regional exile bashu titele tio peya tanga chung something to. I want something to talk to you. And then you my road have.
Ni va me be. I just look at it and I look at it. To lo ni sui la to at it.
Lille nu over det du fyrer.
Tibet har på med. Ja, julen bodde her, jeg gjør ikke trener det, og sendte opp det petisjonen, at jeg har gått samtidig.
Godmorgen.
Det er noe jeg lever det var. Det betyr den som kommer ikke kan gå samtidig.
Dear Mr. Ambassador, my 100-year-old mother-in-law would like to return to her homeland of Tibet. As you know, it is difficult for Tibetans to be approved for visas by the Chinese government.
I think majority of Tibetan people always dream or one day you will return.
Taran drosha de send up drosha nga kale to.
Gemendo versinje lotto soteata pendente o potana yeso. Anju sendero mo kemate pano tiri kia nyampa me pone kondo pe wa isho.
Mola rank vato statri.
Hata. Diwa me je chuje dame te ke vi hieto me jan fonda jet. Sem je tam je tante jembala son na milita vasinda taunsen.
Okay, well,
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm Heather Kafka, and I'm an actor.
I'm John Williams. I'm a casting director.
And today we are here with the filmmakers, Yangzom Brauen and Martin Brauen of the film Mola. Mola, a Tibetan story of love and loss, is a documentary that follows the journey of Mola, a 100-year-old Buddhist nun who has been exiled from Tibet for nearly 60 years. Longing to return to her homeland to die, Mola's wish sets in motion an emotional and complex process for her family in Switzerland. As they work through bureaucratic hurdles, they cherish what could be their final days together. When Mola finally receives permission to return, it is a moment of joy and heartbreak, especially for her devoted daughter Sonam, who must let her mother go. However, an unexpected turn of events threatens Mola's stay, leaving her fate uncertain. Through this deeply personal story, the film explores themes of exile, faith, aging with dignity, and the profound bond between a mother and daughter. Yangzom Brauen is an award-winning filmmaker, known for her work in both film and television. She made her directorial mark with the short film Born in Battle, which won the CICT UNESCO Enrico Fulciani Award and the UNESCO Gandhi Medal. This success led to directing opportunities on major TV shows, including NCIS LA, Hawaii Five-0, Magnum PI, and American Horror Stories. Beyond filmmaking, she is a passionate advocate for Tibetan freedom and the author of the best-selling memoir, Across Many Mountains, which chronicles the journey of 3 generations of Tibetan women. Raised in Switzerland by a Tibetan mother and a Swiss father, her work is deeply influenced by her heritage, exploring themes of exile, identity, and resilience. Martin Brauen is an anthropologist, curator, and filmmaker with a distinguished career in Tibetan and Himalayan studies. He has served as chief curator at the Rubin Museum of Art in New York and has curated nearly 100 exhibitions across Switzerland, the USA, and Europe, focusing on Tibetan culture, art, and Buddhism. A prolific author, his books include The Mandala and Dream World Tibet. His work often integrates audio-visual storytelling, and he has produced numerous films and 3D animations on Tibetan traditions. His latest project, Mola, A Tibetan Story of Love and Loss, reflects his lifelong dedication to preserving and sharing Tibetan history and cultural identity.
Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
You two have been
I wanna-
for having us.
I want to start off by
Yes.
saying, like, the craftsmanship of this, the complexity of this, the layers of the themes. Like, I've been doing this a long time, and it was just incredible to experience just the dignity with death, the mother-daughter relationship, the Tibetan.
Are you getting emotional
I
already, John?
cried. I already
Oh,
I
no.
cried.
Don't, then
Like,
we
No.
start too.
Yeah.
Seriously.
like, seriously, guys, it was just, and the way it developed and came out, it's like you didn't even see the complexity of it, and at the end, you're just like, oh my God. How did they pack all this in and capture all this? And I imagine it's because you started in 2014 doing this, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you know what at that point, or what was the process for you guys, you creating the idea and how you came on and how you guys, the vision that came forth?
Well, we had, independently of each other, we had the idea to film Mola. I mean, I had it and he said it, and we're like, how did you think about it? And I did the thing. I live in LA and they live in Switzerland. And so we said, okay, let's get a camera and start filming her. And we didn't really know yet what the film is going to be. The working title was Life as Ritual, because
So it was more the spirituality of
Yeah.
Mola, which was really in the focus in the beginning, because we were fascinated by her spirituality, by her rituals. One sees it in the movie. She started at 4:00 in the morning
Mhm.
to wake up and then make for 3-4 hours her rituals.
and she would do that every day and not miss
Exactly.
a day, even if when she was in the hospital. So
Even then,
that was
yeah.
like this.
Yeah, and so that was really the focus in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were interested about her uniqueness, how she lived, her spirituality,
Such a hard,
and what
life.
she went
Yeah,
through.
what she went through.
Like escape, like born in Tibet in 1915, and losing her parents at a young age, become a nun at age 6, and then
It sounded like some abuse too from people that were there as well too.
probably we
Yeah.
don't really know, because she always joked about it when she says like the monks were like teasing her of running around.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's
It implied
always
that it did, you're like,
implied,
yeah.
but we like she would never say yes to it. I mean, it was she just told that story. Actually, that was a surprising story we all didn't know about
Yeah.
that
that's
day.
it.
So they were like, and then we tried to interview her and realized that she was too old to really tell us a lot about the past. And that was the hard part too. How can we involve the archival footage
Mhm.
when there is no voiceover of her or barely anything?
We
So-
tried to interview her, actually.
Yeah.
We made many interviews with her, but somehow they were, you can say, staged, or
Yeah,
they were
it
not
felt
real.
staged. It didn't feel real who she was,
Yeah.
and it only works when she's herself.
Dude, and you guys brought her, you
I know,
captured her.
right? and so
So we left all these
we
interviews.
left it,
actually.
and then but we put Sonam, my mother, in front with her, and she kind of started to talk to her.
Mm.
And that's when also suddenly Sonam became a protagonist in the film, and this mother-daughter relationship came out.
I mean, that is, I think I remember now, that's when I was crying because
Yeah.
it was, and I'm getting emotional right now, the unconditional love that she had for Mola, the complexity of that relationship, and you guys being able to
Yeah.
capture that was amazing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And also it's they both had such a big love for each other, and they can joke. And that was like this one scene we left also for such a long time, was because they joke and then he goes into tears, and then he goes into silence. I mean, it
The
was very,
uncomfortableness of that was just like, just tell her you love her.
It's real life.
Yeah.
I mean, many people after seeing the movie said, actually, the same happens to us, and we recognized our relationship with our mother in this movie, and this is nice to hear, that it's really something. Today, also a man came and said he just lost his grandfather, and he remembered this tie, this closeness to him, and this film helped him somehow to overcome. That's wonderful. If this is really
That's
one of the
what
results.
you want to do this for, is to like.
But then we had
It's
so
funny.
much.
It's funny how we're getting into it so fast.
Yeah.
But like, like if you're gonna go there, it's that scene in the kitchen. I'm assuming it's the kitchen when they're sitting and they are joking at first, and then she says how you can't say a nice thing about me, and I found myself at first, really defending Mola's position because I felt, that perhaps it was maybe too hard for her to say because it was too much feelings for her to have, knowing that, she would be leaving soon or what have you. And so it was almost too difficult for her to express it without coming undone. Sometimes when people are so used to controlling their emotions all the time and containing their feelings, they then can't ever let that emotion out.
It's another reason, actually, because when we showed the movie in Switzerland, there were also in the audience many Tibetans. And after the audience, they came to my wife and said, exactly the same happens because Tibetan parents never praise their children. It's not
They
appropriate.
can't, because
it's not
then it
because of
feels like
emotion.
they praise themselves.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
then I thought
exactly.
it was something else. So it's
Wow.
that.
Yeah, they praise themselves then because my child is good. I can't say this,
Because then everyone
openly.
would think, wow, you're so arrogant
proud,
or proud
arrogant,
of
yeah.
yourself that you raised a
Wow.
great kid.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's that. And that's why my grandmother could never praise my mother.
And was your mother aware of this, or was she?
Yes.
She
And
was aware, but
she
she
was
also
aware.
suffered a little bit.
Yeah.
We had this discussion several times. Even in Greece, we had once a very long discussion, which I filmed, but the quality was not good enough because there was a lot of noise.
Do you think in that moment, do you think Mola wanted to but knew that she couldn't? Or do you think...
I think she would know what.
Like,
because she never praised her. I think she literally, what she says is also honestly saying, what should I praise you for?
On the other side,
because being there and caring for her, that's non-questionable. That's normal. That's what you do anyways, right? When you love someone.
Yeah.
So that doesn't need praise.
And she had a lot of reason to praise her, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Sonam really dedicated many years for her. You see it in the movie, how she washes her, how she clothes her, how she looks after
It's
food
unconditional.
and everything.
Yeah, it's consistent unconditional.
But that's Tibetan tradition.
But that's a weird juxtaposition, right? That there's all this sort of unspoken love and praise, but you can't speak it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then so we started filming 2014. And eventually when she turned 100, she said suddenly that she wants to die in Tibet. And so that gave the film a total different meaning and direction also, where we came away from only the spirituality about Mola and the religion part. And so we filmed so much, and then we were too close to understand how to edit it together to tell the story. And so I started just putting scenes together because I understand Tibetan and no editing. So I just started to put scenes together, and then we were looking for an editor. We found someone in Switzerland who started to edit and go through all the material.
How much was there?
Hundreds of hours.
And the problem was also language,
And then the language is the problem because they talk all the time in Tibetan. They don't understand.
Yeah.
So
it's hard to find a really good Tibetan editor these days.
Exactly. That's what we need, right? So and I was working so much on TV that my dad was like, when are we ever going to finish this film? And I said, eventually. And it's like, but you never have time. And I'm like, I know. It's like, so then the editor took over and just worked for months and months and put something together, and we translated stuff. We continued translating. And then we went, then after that, he was stuck, and with Union Editorial.
And he had also other work.
Yeah, and he had the work. But then
Yeah.
we found Union Editorial in LA. We got introduced to them.
Yeah, your team's
Catherine.
powerhouse. Yeah, everybody that's involved is just
Yes, they're so amazing.
The music,
Yeah.
the
Wonderful
original
people, yeah.
score.
We were
And then
so
Jim
happy with that.
Haygood as an
Beautiful.
editor who supervised everything and actually continued editing and did the final cut was amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
to have him was,
yeah.
and they all were so touched by the rough cut they saw and said they want to be part of it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
And the music is
owe them a lot,
amazing, yeah.
yeah, for their work. It's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And also the relationship with them was always perfect. It was very nice working together with them, yeah.
Did you guys have to go through any sort of fundraising or anything like that? Or did you? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, my dad and I, mostly you, but we both raised funds in Switzerland
okay.
because we have foundations.
Oh, it's so great over there.
And cultural support, and so
Many
it's like
private
the government,
people also,
and
yeah.
many private.
Yeah,
people.
it's
Also
actually
the
mentioned
Swiss
in the magazine,
government,
yeah. Mm.
the Swiss Italian parts TV
They
supported.
support cinema over there.
Yes.
It's so great.
That's the great
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
figure.
it's a low budget film. I mean, it
It was 280,000.
around
What we
300,000,
kind of
yeah,
like a
yeah,
max.
it's
Yeah.
not-
And-
I mean,
but,
Swiss
yeah,
francs.
but if you put your time and you put all the effort, it's probably 3.5 million.
I mean,
that's
we don't
true,
even
yeah.
talk about our salary.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
have any, but it's for everyone else.
No,
we actually,
you're
it was
right. Yeah,
The most expensive was actually the post, right? So that's
that
where
was a
we-
big
yeah.
expense. Yeah, but also archival material.
And the archival material we had to.
I was wondering like how much was the home stuff and was this in the archival. Like there were people that looked like Mola in the archival, and I was like, did they capture that? Or
Yes,
Yeah.
that's actually archival. Yeah.
okay,
Mm.
Yeah.
but then the stuff of your mother and her was
That
That
was also
that was-
archival.
so beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was
So
Martin
beautiful.
who filmed it in
Oh.
the 70s.
Which one?
The
Oh,
one,
oh, when
the
she
old
was in-
one,
yeah, yeah,
right?
of course,
Footage
yeah,
of
yeah.
you when you were
Yeah,
young.
that's when I was freshly in love with her.
Yes.
I filmed
I
her.
can
I had a
tell.
camera. I had a hard film material, but
It
for
was
this
8
month,
millimeter. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm
it was
sure
super
you
8.
couldn't
Yeah,
take
Super
your eyes
8.
off her. She was stunning.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just, I mean, those pieces are just beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there are only a few because it was so expensive that he couldn't afford to buy any more
Any more
material.
film.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
a very poor student that time.
Yeah.
You know, I was studying Buddhism in Delhi University in India. So I had a camera. I don't remember what kind of camera. I said Super 8, I
Super
think.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I had some few films, you know. and
Those
so I
are just
used them.
priceless captures. Of
Really,
her,
yeah.
Mola.
It's a pity that I couldn't film more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's,
But so throughout the film, when you have a film like this, so much of it is told through such intimacy in the shots. And it's like, I always wonder, what is that like in the room? Like, what are we talking about? Like, you're right in Mola's face. Is this like, is it just you? Is it a really super tight lens so that you're farther away? Or like, what does that look like when you're...
We had a very basic camera. It looked like a photo camera.
yeah.
And it was like, what is it?
It's a camera which is not more produced.
I know.
Unfortunately, it's a Samsung NX1.
Yeah.
And it has really, every expert said it's really, the quality is exceptional. But we don't
But
know
they don't
why the Samsung
use
does
it anymore. And so when we have problems, they wouldn't fix it because they said, we're not doing it
right.
anymore. And there's one lens and we were literally close.
I mean,
or
You were
far,
just right
and,
by
and then
her.
eventually we had to also do manual
Yeah,
focus because that didn't, work.
But today I realized that also the editors sometimes, took, because I didn't always make close-ups. So I realized today they did a tremendous work. They made a close-up from a wide angle.
For
In
certain
post-production.
things,
So they were able to
sometimes,
punch in
yeah.
probably because
But
it
I
was that
know
HD.
the
And the
one.
quality was good enough so that you could really
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah. But I know also certain things where I was close on her hands when
Also,
she
yeah.
put the dress on and I go up.
That's true.
But because she knows us so well, we could do anything.
She
I
just-
would sleep with her because she couldn't tell me when she wakes up. So I said, I'm going to sleep in the same room. So I was on the floor and kind of didn't sleep because I knew she's going to wake up early. And then, of course, she wakes up at 4
Yeah.
and turns on the light. I said, no, wait.
Yeah.
Turn off the light again. I need to get the camera so I can capture the turning on the light. And before she gets out of bed, and then I just followed her in the morning with how she wakes up and what she does.
Was she yelling at you when she was like, "You're always in my face. You're always here"? Was
No,
she
that's
yelling?
what that hurt me. Yeah.
She wanted to.
She was yelling at him at that time.
It was really amazing, though, how she was able to not be bothered by you or, really.
I think because we lived together, I lived together with
Yeah.
her 42 years or 40 years. So she trusted me, she trusted Yangzom, and she trusted her daughter. That I'm sure if we would have had a team from outside, it wouldn't have worked.
No.
Today I said she would have most probably joked with the people because she liked to joke with people, so she would have laughed at them and with us she was quite natural, Instead, except of this where she says, "Martin, why are you filming me?" And,
no. I don't think there's no other way to get the intimacy and get that. And so when you guys were capturing some of these moments that were so powerful, was that like, were you just being super affected, or were you able to keep that distance as a filmmaker?
This one time when my mother started to cry, it was me starting to cry. That was in India. And I was pointing the camera to her in Nepal. I was pointing the camera and she was looking at some videos she got when she landed in Tibet. And I just started to cry. My mom looks over, sees me, and I'm behind the camera and I'm trying not to shake the camera. So I'm like, not crying, and then I see my mom just starting to cry, and I just like, okay, I just pointed the camera while I'm emotional behind the camera, and it was just us two in the room because I think you guys were outside.
There.
Oh, you were there somewhere. So those are like, that happened. I remember that.
Or
moment.
a similar thing happened to me when Sonam, makes this installation with clothes of Mola, and then she puts the shoes, and then she binds the shoes or laces, and then I went up with the camera and she cried, and I also had problems that time, because it was so emotional, because I remembered how she has put shoelaces when she was still alive, and now
so
she
you
did
had
it on
all these memories.
Empty shoes, one could say, and this was really touching for me too. And even today I had to cry again when I saw.
I know, me too. It's like, oh my God.
It's funny.
And then when I see him, then I get tears, and then it's the same opposite too. So it's like, it's still emotional, of course.
Because she was a really remarkable woman, and certainly in America, in the States, you also have these jokes about mother-in-law and son-in-law, about the relationship. We have this. Do you have these jokes that son-in-law and mother-in-law, they don't get along?
It goes both ways.
So there are jokes that not at all in my case. We really loved each other and had an excellent living together relationship.
When did she move in with you guys? Was it like, it was very early on, but were you already married, or were you guys still like?
Sorry?
With your wife, when?
They lived from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, when I wanted to marry Sonam in India, civil marriage, by the way, she said, "You can marry me, but you have also to take my mother with you." So in one way, indirectly, I was married to two women.
Yes.
Because I had to then struggle in the same way as I did for the visa of Mola to go to Tibet. I had to get the permission from Swiss government, what was very difficult that time. But finally I succeeded. So we traveled together, two women and I, from India to Switzerland. And since then, we were always together in the same household.
And so what was it like when you went to film in Tibet? When you went with Mola?
Well, we weren't allowed to go to Tibet. So those were all footages, cell phone footages from our relatives in Tibet. So we were only allowed to go to Nepal, bring her to the airport there to go to Tibet. And so all the footage filmed in Tibet was like cell phone footages from the Tibetans or our family members over there.
Did you think that she might pass in Tibet? Was that the idea? Was that the goal?
Definitely.
She wanted that, and you thought that might occur?
Definitely. But, it would have been now, when we look in retrospect, it would have been very difficult, especially for my wife, because then she would have known she couldn't have said bye-bye, she couldn't have done the rituals,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Probably not get the care either that she got.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
how was that, letting go of control and hoping that? I mean, did anyone have any experience in Tibet with filming, or because like the stuff with the ashes and that was so
no,
beautiful.
they don't. So we told them we kind of told them how to film it with their cell phones.
But actually, for this format, not they did it by themselves. Later on, they also made a death ceremony, which is not included in the movie. Yeah. And I said, don't use the camera like that, but horizontally.
Yeah.
And they made nice movies, but they are not included. They are not included in our movie, because it would have been much too long. They made a very nice ceremony. They made 1,000 such small figurines out of the ashes and clay.
That was incredible. It was that,
but they made in Tibet many more, and then in Nepal we did the same.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Got it.
Because we were not sure if the ashes will really reach Tibet.
Yeah.
Therefore we kept.
So you kept some. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but is that Tibetan tradition to take the ashes and mold and like create all that from them?
Yes, that's I mean, one way of you can also burn people but rather high lamas also, and then you collect actually the ashes as well. Though that's true, and then you mix it with clay, and then you make these figurines. Not only the figurines which we saw in the movie, but also deities, but made out of clay and ashes, and then you put it in some holy place.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
That's incredible.
And so what was the significance of the cups, the row of cups?
The 7 water cups?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's like in the morning she fills them up, and there's a way how to fill them up. It's actually the nutrition or like the offerings for the goddess she has, the gods. On her altar, and then in the evening she takes them all away and cleans them up and turns them around, and in the morning she does the same again. So every day there has to be fresh offerings.
Okay, so Mola would do that, and then when she passed, then your mom at the end she was continuing it for her.
And also this other offering which we saw, where she put some sort of tea, in a small vessel. This is always in the evening she makes this. Yeah, this is the so-called golden drink, which she offers again to the entire universe. Where she includes all living beings, but of course also the deities.
She would throw it off
the balcony. And she did this even when she was in the hospital.
We always told her, please make sure no one walks underneath the window.
Yeah.
We were so afraid.
She was like, Jack.
She was searching a window which she could open.
I know.
She threw it out.
Was there a large Tibetan community in Switzerland, or was she isolated, or
no? That's the biggest. So outside of India, Switzerland is one of the biggest Tibetan community in Europe.
In Europe, exactly.
Yeah. In America, it's New York or San Francisco, and in Europe it was Switzerland. So there was a lot of Tibetans.
So she was able to sort of practice and be kind of invested in her culture there, and
yes,
yeah. Did you guys choose not to show that, or was it just at that time where she was, or
at that time she was never really invested with the Tibetans, because we lived in Bern, and most of the Tibetans lived in the East Switzerland, so it was further away. And then at that age, she kind of wasn't really.
Actually, she belongs to a special school within Tibetan Buddhism, and once in a year they had a reunion. She went there, but when she was maybe until 1995, she went there, but later on not, because it was too hard. But otherwise, regularly she went once in a year for 3 days, and they united and prayed. But otherwise, she didn't take part in meetings of other Tibetans, because in Bern, in the place where we are living, or where she was living, there were very few Tibetans that time. Now we have a lot of Tibetans, but that time there were only 3 families.
Okay.
So was it who was praying at her bedside when she was passing? Was that
that was a lama? Was it a Rinpoche or a lama?
No, he's a monk.
Monk, yeah.
Invited from a Tibetan monastery in Switzerland.
From her school direction, and he did the death ceremony. So that was very important. And they do say that when people die, the hearing goes the last. So people, they don't see or talk anymore, but the hearing goes at, so she probably heard all this. Yeah.
It's actually the so-called Tibetan Book of the Dead, which is quite well known in the West. Maybe you heard about it. This is a text which is read when somebody passed away. First, when one tries to take the right moment, when the person is still alive, and going to die, or if this is not possible, one reads the text as soon as possible after the death, because Tibetans believe that the consciousness of a deceased person, they don't speak about soul, but it's the consciousness. The consciousness lingers around, and one has to guide this consciousness in the correct direction. So one speaks about the vision which the consciousness will have. First they see peaceful goals, and then wrathful goals, and then one says, don't be afraid about these wrathful goals. It's just imagination, it's not reality. And then Tibetans believe that after 49 days, actually, the consciousness searches for a new living being, in which the consciousness can enter. So that's the notion of rebirth.
You know, I thought it was really interesting at one point early on. Mola said something. It kind of makes me think about, you know, today with social media and these cameras, and we're all going through these things of anxiety and depression, and humans are having a difficult time, I think, in this phase of evolution, seeing their own image so much more than we ever have, or maybe perhaps should. And it was a time when you were introducing filming her early on or whatever, and Mola says something like, it's difficult for my consciousness or something.
Mhm.
She said
Exactly,
it's
yeah. That's in
it's
the moment.
difficult for
Yeah.
me to have you filming me like this,
Exactly,
because
yeah.
it's a struggle on my consciousness.
We were discussing a long time if we should include this passage in the movie, because as you know, also you asked, was it correct, or what does it mean? But we realized that actually she agreed always that we are filming her. You know, the older tradition, or the older Tibetans feel that if you keep pictures of them after death, this is not good for the consciousness, because consciousness can then not find a new rebirth.
Yeah.
But this is only about among all the Tibetans, because nowadays all the families are photographing and filming, and so it's not
Yes.
more the same
Well,
as
but-
in
yeah.
Tibet, you know. But
But the most important was that she agreed that we can film her and show the movie after her death, because she said it's something for Tibet, that we, you know, like that's her country, and for her it was
Yes.
important that we talk about Tibet.
Yes.
And so even she says it in the camera, like, you know, like when I die, then you're going to show the movie and my consciousness can't rest.
Yeah.
But she did agree to it, but we never filmed it. It's just like, you have to take us by the word that it's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
No, because my mother
her
also,
lawyer's not going to reach out to you guys.
I
Yeah,
know.
That is an important
No,
question.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it did remind me of a Native American culture, I think it is too, that they feel that taking a photo steals your soul a little bit, you know, that there is that sort of awareness
Yeah.
in our culture.
I think it's in different cultures.
Yeah.
This notion exists. Yeah, but you know, it's her compassion that then finally made her participate, because compassion for the Tibetans, she wants to really inform about what is going on in her
Yes.
country, in her homeland, and
Because I think there is also innate in humans a sort of wanting to be effective, leave a message behind,
exactly,
maybe.
yeah,
You know, help long after you're gone.
yeah. The
knowing
message is
that-
more important than her consciousness.
Yes,
in one
knowing that humans will be going on long after you.
way.
Is there a way that you can effectively help that?
Exactly.
It seems like it'd be hard for the culture to sort of like the protest and sort of the, you know, everyone that's moving to try to get everyone back there and to deal with the problems there. So it seems like it could be really hard for people to speak up because of that. How did you guys balance that? Because it could have turned into like a political thing, but it seems like you guys wove that in really, really naturally.
Well, because we, first of all, didn't say we want to do a political film. Her life is automatically political because where she comes
That's a
from.
good point, yeah.
And so we knew that Tibet, of course, is part of the story, and we will talk about it, what happened to Tibet, that the Chinese invaded it, and that therefore she landed in Switzerland. So that's already like the political part. And we found a way which we didn't know in the beginning how we wanted to bring the archival footage in and the history of Tibet. And then Jim and Sami, the editors, found a great way, without even comments, through the pictures, we understand something happened there. A country invaded this country, and we don't, and so people who don't even know about Tibet, they might go after the movie and research more and find out what happened to Tibet and where did Mola come from. And I think that's it's about to keep people curious also after the film and kind of want to know more.
I mean, that's how I felt.
That's how I felt as well.
I was like, I want to know more about the subject matter for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like I kind of half knew. I know I'd been exposed, but then I was like, oh, maybe I don't really fully know all the details.
Yeah.
And now I'm more curious.
Some people complained. I mean, no, one person said we should have.
There's always one.
I know.
No,
but
we don't care.
But a critic and said we should have maybe declare or reported about these historic events a little bit longer. But then again, where to cut other things out,
But I also feel like we've seen so many documentaries where people always like archival footage and then
we had actually
voiceover. Yes,
versions,
but the voiceover tells what happened, invasion or like subtitles.
That's a different movie.
And it's just different.
That's
and
not
there
the movie
it's
you're
more,
making.
We also had it like Mola had a lot of nightmares in the beginning, and so that was like
that was actually why we kept
it that way. Also, that she wakes up after a nightmare. It's kind of like she had those nightmares.
She did really have those nightmares. You're saying?
Yeah, Sonam told us actually when she was sleeping in the beginning in India mainly, not in Switzerland anymore. Then she had these nightmares and. This was, of course, what she experienced. All these atrocities and how she had to run away and all this. Later on, this disappeared, but therefore we kept these historic elements in. I think 2 times we show it. Always when Mola is sleeping, and then she wakes up, and then.
Yeah, I feel like you guys humanized it.
Yeah,
you humanized sort of, and it's much more powerful. I feel that way than like archival and voiceover and all that stuff.
Yes.
You're left with like. I mean, I was just left with thinking about what she went through, and just it was super powerful.
It kept it about Mola, and not about the big thing.
Exactly,
Like that was the film you were making.
The reason why she was in Switzerland, we had to show, I mean, that people understand why she ran away from Tibet. I mean, it's not so easy to run away this long way. I mean, they were running up for about 2 months, always in the night. They couldn't run away in the daytime, so they had to hide. They had to sleep in the daytime, and then in the night they were. All this, of course, was very hard. Also for my wife, she still speaks about it. She still feels about this.
It's so interesting to learn about what because I was thinking that it was the sort of like cutoffness to your mom with her, and sort of the hardness was because of that. But it's so interesting to learn that it's because of the Tibetan tradition, because I was thinking, I was like, what I was left with, like, what happened between them.
Yeah,
because it was
nothing happened. Really,
I know, which is crazy.
That's the thing, right? Because here we would think something bad happened, and that's why there is.
And I was like, for your mom, I was like, what a beautiful woman to be able to like never get this thing. I mean, I think we all have little forms of that with our parents, and then just to be consistent with just all the care and the love and taking care of her. So powerful.
But she does in her own way. I don't know. There's certain things I know in my mom's relationship with her mom. She was once told, your mom loves you the best that she can. There's like a certain, I know you want more from her, but this is the most she can do. And there comes a place where you accept that or you don't. And if you can't accept it, then you might feel okay.
Yeah.
But if you continue to want more, then you will always be disappointed. And so I feel like in those moments, that was the most that Mola could do. And because they're there, I feel like I see them throughout the film. She's playful with her, and they have their little moments. And I loved their relationship. It wasn't until that rough moment where I was like, "Ooh, now I don't know what to think," But now I understand the cultural difference. But she's very like, they have this wonderful bond.
How was that emotionally for you when you were filming some of this stuff and in the room with it being your mother and your grandmother? Like,
So that incident I think was you, but I also filmed so many of those incidents because it doesn't happen just once, right?
Yeah.
It just continues, especially when we put them in front of the camera and told my mom, ask her this question, and we tried to get answers out from my grandmother, and it was hard. So my mother had to push, and then through that, of course, it became also emotional. I was a participant trying not to engage.
Yeah.
And sometimes my mom would look over to the camera or to me and or I would laugh, like, I can hear you laugh, so of course we are part of the whole conversation, and we try to not to engage too much because we're so close behind the camera and try to capture everything.
Well, so difficult because you're so close, as family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To keep that distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. That seems like it'd be really difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
It was not so difficult because we knew that they love each other.
Yeah.
Actually, we knew how they function. We knew that Mola doesn't praise her daughter, but on the other side, she loved her, and we knew it. So it was not so hard.
But it was hard. I mean, it was always, in the moment, it was hard. Like for you not, but for mom it was
yeah, of
always
course.
hard.
No,
Like
that's
it's
true.
like
Yeah.
that Mola can hug me and my brother and give us more love than she can with Sonam. And I think that was
If she gave more
sometimes-
love, I don't know, but she could
well,
praise
or
you.
kind of like she could praise me
Yeah.
or my brother, but not her daughter.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
so that's hard.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just love the way that the film is so poetic, quiet, and you just zoom in so deeply on such humanity in these still, quiet moments, and you find a way to make it feel like we are back to living storytelling on film for the eyes. Like somehow I was able to experience these people in their lives in this moment without any modernity, or it didn't feel like I was at risk of Mola being threatened by it. Like I just somehow time and place weren't an issue, and I was able to just experience her in her world as just a pure human. I didn't have to like the only thing was like your computer and an email, but the rest of it was like it was just like nature and hands and flies and flowers,
nature as
and just like, the moment to moment experiences of these people. She's taking a bath, and just like the emotion between people and the scenes and the breathing in and out and the whatnot. And I didn't ever have to be taken out by, a cell phone or any of the things of like cars or whatever. And I didn't have to share the modern world. I didn't have to share Mola with the modern world, I guess is kind of where I'm getting at. And I could just experience it almost like a book. It felt almost like I was having a private reading.
That's very nice.
You said it so nicely. Thank you.
So it was beautiful the way you were able to do that. And
Thank you.
it's like just so beautifully the cinematography that you were able to capture, the close-ups and the lighting and then the music, the score. Whoever did that, I
the
can't.
more we hear
me,
it,
I
the
can't
more we
remember
are.
his name.
Patrick Kears. He's a very good
Incredible.
Swiss, German. Yeah.
Especially when you hear it in a cinema hall. On the computer, it's different. But when I heard it now in the cinema hall, in Switzerland, it was in a very large hall. It didn't sound so nice. But here in Austin, it was in a rather medium-sized hall, and it sounded, especially from the moment onward when Mola travels to Nepal, then it becomes very intense. This part, and then it somehow with these wonderful instruments. I like it very much.
It was beautiful.
So you guys had your U.S. premiere here at South by Southwest, and you've screened 3 times?
3 times.
Yeah. So what has been the experience with seeing it with the audience here and, stateside?
It was great. It's like we saw it in the movie theaters in Switzerland where we had the world premiere. And so we were curious how it's going to be here with an American audience.
Our attention span being like
No, but
Yeah, of an ant.
different. But I have to say, like, you know, like where we didn't know, does the humor Mola has translate to someone who doesn't know her or doesn't understand Tibetan just with the subtitles? Because I understand Tibetan, you know her humor, even if you don't understand all the Tibetan she says or talks. And so it was nice to see that her humor is language without a language barrier.
Yeah.
So it's kind of really like her expression and what she does, and that was nice. So it's a roller coaster, I think, the film also of emotions, because you can laugh and cry the next minute and feel for Mola and Sonam. And the audience, really felt that.
Yeah, we observed people. Some, already in Switzerland, our son was sitting beside a man. He said, "Oh, this man always cried."
I know. So people got really emotional, and I think a lot of people came also afterwards and said they were thinking about their own grandparents or parents. And so
also here
I did, for sure.
Yeah. So it's very personal. So it's not just our story. Everyone has a story.
Yeah. I mean, you're in denial of it, right? Because you know it's going to happen, but no one wants to think about it.
Yes.
Yeah. But to come back to your question, also the reaction of the attendees, of the people who came to see the movie in Austin, was very surprising, more open than in Switzerland. I mean, in Switzerland, they were not as open, and I liked the question here. They were quite deep, some of them, So it was a really nice exchange, and I'm happy about this experience.
Oh,
you guys
wonderful.
got to do a Q&A after?
Yeah, it was very nice.
Exactly.
Yeah, we loved the
Good job,
festival.
Austin. Way to represent. Good questions.
That's great. So we're gonna probably wrap it up. What's
What
next?
happens next?
Yeah, what happens next?
Oh, next. What's next? I wrote a book called Across Many Mountains.
Yep.
That's like 13 years ago, and so I want to turn that into a feature. And it's about 3 generations of Tibetan women. It's about my grandmother, my mother, and my life. But it's interesting because we were thinking about maybe a documentary first makes more sense and then turn it into a feature, but that would be different than the documentary. And so it would be more based on Mola's early life in Tibet when she decided to become a nun at age 6, and about the flight running away from Tibet to India, and then the exile story in India, and then the big love story with my father and my mother. And so that's something I want to push forward.
That sounds so ambitious and amazing.
Yes.
Good luck
it is
casting
ambitious.
Mola. Like that's gonna be
I know that's going to be hard, but the young Mola, it's going to be easier. Yeah.
So you're short. When you had success with your short, you fell into TV, which seems like it's so hard to get into TV and be a TV
It's so
director.
hard. Yeah. There was like at my short screening in a movie theater, I went there and there was always like 3 people, 5 people. And I always introduced myself, and there was this couple I didn't know. And I said, "How did you hear about my short?" And they said, "Oh, they know the boy who is in my short." And I asked him what he was doing, and he's a TV director. And so I heard someone telling me, like, to break into TV, you have to shadow a director on a show. And so I asked him if I can shadow him on a show when he does one. And I think 6 months later, he said he's going to do NCIS LA, and the producer said, "You can shadow me." And so I shadowed him. And after that, I asked the producers and the showrunner if they would give me an episode. And so it took another 9 months and 3 emails, I think, and they offered me an episode. And the
With
producer,
never having
There you go.
Yeah,
just all you have to do is ask. Everybody just
and
ask.
be persistent,
Just ask.
but in a nice way. And so, the line producer really JPK gave me a chance. He said, I give you a chance, and just don't fuck it up, and we'll invite you back.
Amazing.
And so it was the first, and now it's been, I think, over 30, almost 40 episodes in 6 years. And it's amazing, because then I started to get other shows, and then I got a Hulu show, a network show. And so I just like broadened my spectrum.
What? You've directed over 30 episodes?
Yeah, it's almost 40, I think. Or over, yeah. Yes.
A lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
I
a
just
lot.
suddenly realized, and there was a pandemic in between and a strike.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It was like-
In 1 year, you made 6 or 7 once, isn't it? In 1 year, I think
8.
or 8.
8 was the
Yeah.
max
Yeah,
I
that-
did, and
Oh
that's
my
a lot
But that
because
was
like
too
one
much,
show goes in a month, and you need
And then you go to the
editing.
next one.
Yeah, and then,
they rotate
so
all you guys. Yeah.
that was actually just after pandemic when you did always doubles. So I had to do 2 of a show. So we prep 2 and then shoot 2.
Yeah.
So that was a great, for me, a learning experience too, because my background is acting. And so I just always wanted to direct. I just didn't know when and how. And so when I started saying, okay, I'm just going to do my own things. And I thought I'm going to continue acting and then do my indie films, which take forever to finance and I can't survive on that. But then that came with TV and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
It's fast paced. I can tell so many different stories every month. And I learned so much, and I can still do projects like Mola and other indie films.
You
on
can
the
drop
side.
in and drop out when you
Yes.
need to.
Mhm.
You know, already when she was living in our home still in Brauen, she suddenly one day said, we have to go to the attic to live there. And she made a movie in our house.
Yeah, that's true.
And then that time, actually, we told her already, you don't want to become a director. We pay you the school in Munich and so on. And she said, no, I'm doing my own way. And now she made it.
Yeah.
But not
At that time,
not
still
the-
wanted to act,
yeah.
right? So
I don't know that anyone in the entertainment industry has that.
it doesn't go
It doesn't
straight.
go
I know.
that way.
Yeah.
And most of this was the correct way
Yeah.
for you. Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I tell people all the time because they're like, asking me for advice, and I'm like, I go, everyone's path's different,
Yeah.
I can't give you any sort of, this is how it's done,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of shadows now, and I love
Oh, that's
having
great.
shadows. So
Yeah.
because I give back, and so I had probably 6 shadows already, and I always take on new ones because I want them to learn and be on set. But it's not the same. It's not like when you shadow someone that you get the job.
Yeah.
It's not like
No,
that
you-
happened to me.
Yeah.
Right.
But I didn't get accepted to the AFI Women's Workshop, like other things where other people got accepted.
Mhm.
So everyone's journey is different,
Yeah.
and nothing is right or wrong. It's just like you just have to ask and pursue it.
Yours was really a typical American history story because
So, yeah.
because we just now before in the car we said she was driving a taxi. She was a taxi
limo.
driver
A limo
in a
driver in
limo
LA.
in LA,
Yeah.
and now you made your way. That's wonderful.
Which
yeah.
is a million stories. I have friends that do that. It's like a crazy life. Did you move to LA to act?
Yes.
Okay.
And then I did a lot of
Unbelievable.
commercials. Yeah. And then it's pretty fast. I knew I'm gonna just have to write something. So my first film was actually a feature film, a dark comedy. And the idea was I'll shoot it in LA, mostly in Swiss German with Swiss stars I know in LA and New York, and bring it to the movie theaters in Switzerland. And so I did it, and it was
Who killed
Who
Johnny?
Killed Johnny? Yeah. It's like with no money.
Johnny-
Yeah, the Kickstarter came out. I'm like, let's raise the money through Kickstarter. And
How long ago was that?
that's when 2013. Okay, 12 years
Yeah,
ago.
that was like right at the beginning of like crowdfunding and all that
yes,
stuff.
it
Yeah,
was
that's great.
just in the beginning. And
Yeah.
I said, let's try to do the Kickstarting. And I got from Switzerland, like all the press.
Yeah.
And there were people who gave me $10,000 because they wanted to be on the red carpet with the stars. So
Listen,
I
I've
sold
raised
them
quite
all
a bit of
these
money to
things.
put someone's kid in a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with that one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How much this movie costed?
I think at the end it was 80,000.
Oh, only okay.
It's an incredible story.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna remember me because I'm gonna call and ask to shadow you.
Yes.
I'm like dead serious.
That's awesome. That's such an incredible story. And it just shows that like you just never know how it's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. I wish we could dive into your career because you have an amazing career as well, too. It's just all the books and the filming and all that stuff.
Quite interesting.
Yeah.
I was privileged. I could always do whatever I liked.
That's
Who can
amazing.
say this from his life?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I first studied medicine, and then I realized because during my studies I already made an exhibition about Tibetan art. Don't ask me why. I just felt attracted to this. And then one day I told myself, now what should I do? Should I continue my medicine studies or do something else? And then I went to India to study Buddhism. And then I realized anthropology, cultural anthropology would be the best for me. So I went back to Zurich, to Switzerland, and there I studied anthropology. And I got the chance to get the job at the museum, anthropological museum, and there I climbed up the ladder until I could get this chief curator position in the Rubin Museum of Art, which is unfortunately closed now. They closed it after 20 years. Unfortunately, it was a wonderful museum, but they don't continue as a museum. Continue it as a collection or something like that. And then when we went back to Switzerland, I was more interested in contemporary art. I made an exhibition, a large exhibition with by Bill Viola, the video artist.
Oh, yeah.
It was wonderful. Yeah, I loved him so much. Yeah, it was really great to work with him. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. And there is another artist with whom I worked, Wolfgang Leib, a German artist. And then I made an exhibition in in the Kunst Art Museum in Basel about a very interesting American painter or artist. She was befriended with Piet Mondrian when he was still in New York, 4 years before he passed away, and she became very befriended with him. So I made an exhibition about her, and I published a book about this friendship between Piet Mondrian and Charmian von Wiegand is her name. So these are small projects I work still on, and now I make it a little bit slower, maybe.
Just to get to live, both of you guys get to live a life in the arts is amazing.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you guys' contribution to the
Thank
world.
you.
Yes,
because-
right.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank
inviting
you.
me.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
So
you for your
nice,
interest.
yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so
Right.
much.
I hope you will like to read this small
Oh, for
booklet.
sure.
Yeah.
Is there any
Yes.
promotions you guys want to do, or anything you want to tell people where they can get in touch, find the film, or?
Oh, yeah. So get in touch. Molafilm.com is the website, and there is a contact section where they can contact us if they're interested in, I don't know, we're still looking for a distribution for the rest of the world outside of Switzerland. There we're going to have a theatrical release in September, and the rest is still open.
So they're interested in Germany, isn't it? But
in German, yeah, but it's not.
It's not confirmed.
It's not confirmed, yeah. And then we're still open for festivals and, show the film and spread the word. And for us, it's important that this film is getting shown because it's the story of Tibet, one story of a Tibetan woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. That was great. It was great to talk to you. And this is the weird part where it just ends and we're still here.
I know. What did we talk about? Like cell phones?
Yeah, I know. And it's all
Yeah.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.